Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Marvel Rivals Ignite Qualifier game. The last one in my catalogue here, and I've brought back Ash for a special occasion, just to keep me company, and because I like hanging out with you. We have our game, we are jumping back to EMEA.
Or as I like to say here, EMEA, which honestly just sounds better. It rolls, but a little better off the tongue. But hi, for those of you unfamiliar with me, former MRC Asia caster and current commentator in the FGC, the #1 caster, Ashurvok. Great to be back here, Tetcher.
Always happy to have you. It always fills me with joy. Our games today, this is the lower bracket qualification game between Fire Strays and Not OTPs. The last game I had, all of the qualifying games will now have been cast at the end of this. We can see on the top, it will be Fire Strays, and on the bottom, it is Not OTPs, which is why we have immediately seen the Penny Parker ban from Fire Strays.
I mean, I don't blame them for it. If you know, you know, right? Going into Season 2.5, Penny Parker having a new crossover, I should say, team between herself and Rocket Raccoon, double Beacon, or you can get double Spider Nest, which either way is some nasty work here, Tetcher.
There is also the fact that non-OTPs do live up to their name, at least a little bit here. Cringe Alarm, hovering that penny, and they have been rocking that shit since Season 0. I saw on my own channel, that's fine, my bad though, can't do that. But they play that a lot. They've rocked it from season to season, they've been a menace, and they are literally a target ban player. Along with another player who is not in this game, but Raziel is one of the top Spider-Mans in the world. Grapher is one of the top Iron Fists. They have a lot of flexibility, and we will see them protect that Iron Fist. But the fact is, they live up to their name. These guys aren't just OTPs. They just have some preferences.
Exactly, and it is understandable, but looking on the other side of our picks and bans here, right? Notice a Human Torch protect, but then immediate and instant ban coming in on the Wolverine with Deppy99 having no choice but to go and install the group protect. I don't blame them for it, especially Wolverine being the kidnap connoisseur that he has been almost throughout this entire time, Tetcher.
Has just been isolating, has been picking people up, and it has been good.
Yep.
What we aren't seeing here so far from either team is the Punisher, but we do see that Groot, the Wolverine, is going to be great because of those isolations, because of those kidnaps, because of those pickups. But the Punisher has been great at clearing out the walls, for just trying to burn them down, also Winter Soldier for isolations and to try and trap people. We see literally zero of those characters from the side of Not OTPs. What we do see, though, is Veil. Even though it did get nerfed this season, they are a bit of a flyer master here and will be moving on to the Human Torch.
And on the Human Torch, right, such a menace in disguise, a shotgun character, I mean, quite literally has an F that can dive upon you, and then building up the firewalls in the first place to honestly go for crowd control, the AoE effects after the fact, and then Supernova is still as devastating as can be, especially at choke points, and going into this next map, would not be surprised if we saw plenty.
Luther starting on the Namor. We're not seeing a lot of the Gamma team up this season, but it is going to make an appearance here for the side of Fire Strays, and no portal rollouts from the side of Not OTPs. They will make their way onto the point. Cringe Alarm starting on the newly reworked Thor, having a little bit of an adjusted setup with how we get that Thor Force built up to try and keep them in Awakening Rune a little bit more often, but has lost a little bit of sustain.
And I will say, gotta be a little more careful, especially Deppy coming in off the walls already. Cringe Alarm almost getting isolated, which obviously would not be a smart choice. Have a fair advantage, but with the healers obviously in backline, keeping you alive as long as possible. I say that, and already we're losing 2 just straight DPS damage, especially off the Octopi from Luthern.
Not even having to chase anymore, just let the squids drop a little bit more damage on the retreating members of Not OTPs. They will be pulling back here. They do, of course, still have this Strange, saving it for the last potential push here. On Krakoa, very wide open here, which is where we see so much value out of this Human Torch, just poking away from above, making this rollout so much more difficult. And if you look at the point and clicks at those hit scans, it's only really going to be the Psylocke so far for TPs, as Huma is trying to find the angles, but is just getting targeted every time they show their face.
I mean, hell, getting targeted. I mean, it happens, but for not OTPs at the moment, right? Getting staggered upon, and honestly, I don't know if say getting separated, but when it comes to Fire Strays and their setup, you have the Octopi to worry about for projectile range, and then in the skies, you just straight up have Volley shotgunning down upon you from all angles. Obviously, not a guaranteed fun time, and going in off the dive, just trying to separate Huma off and away from the team.
Speaking of which, EMEA will be separated by being sent back to spawn. Picked up by Venom. The Straggling Prince is going to come out from Deppy. The capitalization with the Horde of Proteus forces out the fate of both worlds, but now they are staggered, getting that healing output, but without everyone on the board. Now the question is, Supernova could be dropped the second this expires. Invisible Boundary is still at the ready, though, for at least some level of extra protection.
I mean, a barrier out. Of course, you have the Eye of Agamotto out for the portal, getting the stagger and the strength on top of it. But Valley, you can just see plotting out the Supernova. And as predicted, just making sure that not OTPs, they're not going to have a fun time whatsoever. And everybody on the side going down. There's them being last to fall down here.
This is dominant so far. They literally just stand there. They know there's no way out. EMEA will fall last one in the order. We're on 85%, and AMZ will be going for the portal because, quite frankly, that's all they've got left. They're running out of time. Thor going to try and lead the charge. You see this group walls already set up so that when they dive onto this point, they're going to take a lot of damage. EMEA is going to be the first one to dive on Index. A lot of damage forced to dash away, but through some of the aggro.
And EMEA just, I can guarantee you, setting up for one ulti where there is another off the Iron Fist at that, but then the clones coming in off the Loki as well. The fate of both worlds just out in full force, just trying to provide not OTPs anything and everything in regards to sustainability, but not if Deppy and Volley have anything to say about it. Going off on the firewalls and the Thorn Lash coming into it from Fire Strays.
Fire Strays, a dominant opener here, holding the line, and are able to take round number one of map number one as we prepare to head to the carousel. Lot more of a vertical map here where we do see Cradle. You'll see everyone try to claim the single high ground point and siege down from above. On this map, there are so many little ledges. There's the ability to use the fact that it is a sort of half interior room to take cover on the flying characters like this Human Torch.
Man, when it comes to Valley, right, really likes to prefer to play around corners and then going into this next stage of the map, I should say, honestly, plenty of opportunity just to get the high-flying action in. And against not OTPs, I imagine having to run for cover. But then I say that, do you realize how hard it is to run for cover when you have Deppy coming in with a lot of these walls, blocking your way, essentially, and making it a nightmare when it comes to redirection in the first place?
We've also got Binary on this Hulk, something that we don't see very
for the
often,
dive.
locking people down, diving you when you try to get away. This is a relentless assault composition from Fire Strays, and non-OTPs seem to be struggling to deal with it. While they went heavy on the dive themselves with the Psylocke and the Iron Fist, they don't have something like a Captain America like we might normally see to back it up and set up for these engages, instead relying on this Thorn as they come in with the Awakening Rune.
With the Awakening Rune, right? When it comes to the Thorn to set up on not OTPs, you have plenty in regards to shielding, just a little bit of some from AMZ, but then you have to realize, is that even going to be enough contending against a lot of these walls that EMEA at a lot of points has been denied some key points coming into it, especially off these flanks, because Valet is just there to stop it. But of course, we're going to have the World Breaker coming into it full from Binary right now, just staggering the living hell at a not OTPs, and that's going to be an Iron Fist grabbed out of the sky, can go twice as high, fall twice as hard here, with Graph going down and out to the fire.
We've all felt like we've wanted to do that in our ranked games from time to time when you're up against an extremely good Iron Fist. Sometimes we all just want to be Hulk just so we can solo ult one person to zone them out and stagger them off the board, as already we're just about to hit a quarter of the way through for Fire Strays.
And already, 26% and counting and not stopping anytime. So we could talk about ulti differentials, right? You'd have Dance of the Butterfly and then Fate of both worlds to provide you some sustain leading into this next team fight. But then on the side of Fire Strays, right? You'd have Luther coming with the Horn of Proteus, strangling Prison in conjunction off the Trident. Nasty work, especially in from Luther as well as Deppy to really stagger not OTPs. But even with Fate of both worlds, is it going to be enough to even play through here?
They're going to try it, trying to create a little bit of space. The extra healing as Grapher is dropped low as the Fate of both worlds will expire. They're starting to get the momentum here. Binary is sent down. Exo with an extremely late clone here, coming in with that Fate of both worlds with the God of Mischief, which will actually protect Binary enough to re-transform into Hulk. What a transformation! But they're back to banner again, as we will see the Eye of Agamotto, but launching themselves out to try and escape Force Physics, and they are juggled.
Man, you say late, and I was just about to say calculated, especially off the late fate of both worlds off in the God of Mischief. Gave Binary enough time to transform back, but then, like we did, Siege fell very quickly in the aftermath. And now for not OTPs, taking the advantage 16% and counting, still a bit of a ways to go. But then Fire Strays, right, would have the opportunity to lead in here with fate of both worlds and maybe the Supernova to provide some choke points.
Trying to push on it, setting themselves up for an opening. Cringe Alarm is leading the counter charge. Here comes that Supernova extremely early. Meteor M in the invisible boundary to absorb it. Just a meteor hovering ominously out from the invisible boundary. But no one is going down from either side as they're going to try and set up the opening. Binary is in the backline. Monster Hulk coming in for the setup to try and dive to try and burst through anyone. Does the butterfly for the counter as Hoover is in the backline.
And the Dance of the Butterfly coming out in full force, but not going to be enough for not OTPs here. Huma having no choice but to fall back and honestly just stand aside even then. Volley giving chase and trying to make sure you go down just as quickly here off the fire splatter. Instead, Huma sent back to spawn, having to make the walk of shame and a frighteningly quick retake for Fire Strays.
Those blow-ups, those point-blank. We used to talk about the
Nasty.
Star-Lord being the best dueler for dealing with flying characters, but it really has kind of become Human Torch from close range. Star-Lord, a good Star-Lord, can in theory outplay a Human Torch. The Human Torch is consistent if they get close up to any other flying character. Chasing down Grappa for the moment, who was essentially a flying melee character. Exactly what Vale wants to see to blast out as long as he doesn't get picked off first. Aya Agamotto coming out, will catch them mid-air. Focused down and blown up as we're going to see non-OTPs taking control.
And the Eye of Agamotto making an exceptional play here, coming in from AMZ, much needed right now for not OTPs, with a double elimination out in full force and another side retake for not OTPs as Fire Strays. Listen, I don't want to have to say change of game plan just a little bit here, but it's starting to look a little rough, especially in some of these team fights.
We're starting to see the momentum being picked up, and it's not like they went down to save an ultimate economy. We're pretty close here. There is a slight charge lead for the side of Fire Strays, but not enough to be overly significant in these early stages. AMZ, on the other hand, is getting focused down as there is a wraparound from Fire Strays. Here's for the Proteus and the straggling prison coming out onto just two members. Group Wall to isolate them down. Horde of Proteus, but the Meteor M is going to get the counter double pickup to allow non-OTPs to hold the line.
And the barrier just didn't come out in time to save you any strength in the first place. We're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore that.
Oh, I see.
That's fine.
I see.
Tetcher,
if
I pretend I do not see. Dance of the Butterfly not finding any intended victims, but now sent into overtime, having to play the portal strat just as quickly, going with the Gamma shielding. And honestly, if you're wild enough, you're going to pop the ultimate here from Binary. Dance of the Butterfly, Supernova coming out in full force at that one. Walls abound, especially in from Deppy right now, or excuse me, nothing in full force as Valley and Binary leading the charge, but you still have an Iron Fist to contend with. Regeneration lamps can only save you for so long before finally getting sent down from your corner. Binary, Valley, and Kivo taking everyone down in turn. But still in overtime here. I don't think it's enough for not OTPs to come back.
There's no one else here for the reinforcement. Depp even swapped over to the Venom so they could reinforce in time. That is going to be the 2-0 in game number 1 for Fire Strays. But we started to see the improvements coming in from non-OTPs. They started to lock in. They timed their ultimates effectively, but they did still go down, they did still lose, they just did not have the momentum in these fights and did not have the burst damage. This Iron Fist taking a little bit too long compared to someone like possibly a Black Panther to burst through these backliners and set your team up for those quick pickups.
I mean, hell, it happens. It is really unfortunate to see, but when we talk about team MVPs, to no surprise, Valley coming in with 25 eliminations, only 3 deaths, plenty of final hits abound, and damage at that Tetcher.
Literally topping the chart in almost every way. Did the most damage, most final hits, most eliminations. Somehow did not get the most damage blocked. I wonder how that happened. Maybe because they were always in the sky. Most damage blocked did go over to Deppy. Somehow it's not going to be the Vanguards who are absorbing all of that Human Torch damage. It does go over to Deppy, just showing how well they were playing while Binary was harassing. They were essentially solo Vanguarding for chunks of that game while Binary's in the backline.
Right, and honestly, when it comes to binary, right, coming into it with the Hulk, just harassing damn near everybody, separating and making sure that backline healers are cut off from the front line supports. I mean, Deppy also, right, came in with the Groot walls to make sure you go for the atypical plan, reject, redirect, and make it hell for everybody involved in the side, not OTPs. But I will give not OTP some credit, right? Going into the second stage of our map really showed some vigor really leading into it, as well as the possibility for a comeback. But like you said, that burst damage just really wasn't there to really just cut off fire strays.
They didn't have the burst damage. They did not have they had the positioning, but they were getting chased down and zoned out.
Right.
And they weren't able to find the quick blow-ups when they needed them as well. Again, running with a Psylocke and an Iron Fist, the idea was just to pick people off quickly, and Psylocke is ending up chasing Loki for like an extra 2 minutes midway through a fight because we just see the extra mobility and the quick escapes. Let's head on in to our second map of the day. It will be Symbiotic Surface.
Ooh, my favorite map and mode. Controversially enough, I'm gonna just sit out here and say it. I think Symbiotic Surface, I think Convergence is fun. Is it torturous for everyone else? Sure. But as someone who plays Rocket Raccoon, it's so many more walls for me to climb. I love it here.
I play some normal stuff, I promise, but I also am a big fan of the Rocket and the Pennies, and this is a good map for both. You can really set up in that entranceway, in that little side hallway off to the left of the main objective. Not going to have to worry about that this time, though, as once again, Fire Strays will remove the Penny Parker.
Man, already don't want to have to deal with the Penny. Double BRB, not fun. Double Spider Nest, especially leading in on defense, an absolute nightmare. I mean, hell, I play it myself just for gits and shiggles, if you will. But already with the Wolverine Protect here, maybe wanted to go for that Vanguard shredding action we didn't really see much of in the first place the last time.
There was Groot in the game, but like you said, the Wolverine did not make too much of an appearance. Here comes more target bans. Again, not OTPs, but they do have some heroes that are extremely terrifying to go up against. Raziel, missing from game number 1, will make an appearance here, and they are a legendary Spider-Man for a while, being the #1 ranked Spider-Man player according to Rivals Meta.
Man, and I don't blame Fire Strays coming in here, obviously off the Spider-Man ban, seeing the name and being like, hey, wait a minute, that looks a little too familiar. Let's just put the Spider-Man to the side for a little bit, but very obviously wanted to bring in the Human Torch Protect, honestly, for Valet to really get in the shotgun fire.
We just had a quick server change to hopefully fix a little bit of audio stuff. Hopefully, we still have Ash and they can see the video still.
Ooh, uh-oh. There we go. Fixed.
Excellent. Good. Just wanted to make sure we were just having a little bit of lag, so we decided to bring the server over to the Americas so that you're a little bit more on home turf.
My bad, gang.
Human Torch going to be protected here, and Adam Warlock will be removed. That's a hit scan character who can do some good damage to the Torch, and 2, the multiple revive comps are incredibly difficult to deal with, so removing that from play at least lessens the threat.
And hell, coming into Symbiotic Surface, right, where there are just too many spots for an Adam Warlock to really set up shop, make their plays, especially off of Karmic Revival, would not be a great nor fun time into Convergence. But as we get everything set up, Lutheran possibly hovering over the Punisher, which we didn't really see that much of the last game. Things could change leading into this one, however.
Punisher did receive a buff this patch, got the team up buff, is becoming an anchor, did get more ammo and more damage because they lost that rocket team up. They are terrifying this patch. We're obviously recording from the future. We're in fact recording this on the 16th. The future. So we have been seeing some Ignite games while we won't say who won this in case you are behind so that you don't get spoilers. I will tell you, we are seeing a lot of Punisher in these actual games. We aren't seeing, though, a lot of this guy, the Iron Man. Never mind, we can't watch that. We aren't seeing a lot of the Iron Man coming in here, despite the fact that they can offer a significant amount of burst, but it's the tank player who is hovering that, so we will likely see AMZ swap back over to their Doctor Strange.
Honestly, seeing that, I have to hit the R-Truth. I'm not so sure that's even PG. Oh, goodness. honestly a jump scare and a half here, but already having to face the fire quite literally with AMZ just tanking some damage. And honestly, against a flyer playing from this corner, it is going to be a nasty way for an entrance.
Ain't that the truth? And the truth will set you free, but it might not win you a map. As Cringelum looking for openings, looking for setups to try and isolate someone here. Kind of treating this like a sort of mini extra tanky Wolverine. If they can find someone out of position, they might be able to tackle them off this high ground and take the position, using the Awakening Rune, though, to clean out these regeneration domains and at least lower the defensiveness of Fire Strays. As right now, we are seeing Binary on the thing is driving back the members of not OTPs.
All right, got a little scared there. I thought I was lagging out, but see, here's the thing, and I'm not talking about my internet, of course. I am talking about the much reviled Vanguard, depending on who you ask. And Lutheran coming in off the assist pick against Raziel here, really making sure the Winter Soldier stays down and stays on ice.
Doing a lot of extra damage here, putting on the pressure. We will see that Luna prepared to heal as they're going for the portal engage. Keep an eye on Grappa, who's on the flank, trying to create a distraction while this portal engage will make their way in. Raziel on the Winter Soldier gets immediately snowballed.
Man, and all already with the icicle, gotta be chilly on that one. Trying to pop in with a tainted voltage at that one to really make sure Valley just stays down and gets shut down off the uppercut. That is indeed gonna happen here. No more Human Torch, at least for the moment. And now with the regeneration lamps in full play, Lutheran really keeping up the health. And honestly, Final Judgment here will be the nastiest pop instead. Has to fall back with the Scourge Grenade. Binary going in off the Yancey Street Charge, really into the haymaker of all haymakers. And now we have the Kraken Impact to worry about on top of full-on Ragnarok. Coming into it from Cringe Alarm, but now with the fate of both worlds down in full play. Actually, double dueling playlist to worry about already into the thing ulti with the knock-up on Clobbering Time.
Binary is getting targeted down so hard. They will get focused. They cannot protect themselves with that Stone Haymaker extra bonus health. Debbie, though, will still portal in. They get body blocks off the point, but they try and make it. Force Physics will push them back, and they will not be able to delay this. That is point number one, going to be picked up by the side of non-OTPs.
And in fast fashion at that one, no matter what Fire Strays really had to throw at them, I mean, whether it be one ulti after the other, and then a knockup coming in on the Clobbering Time just was not enough to make sure that not OTP stayed shut out and shut down. Already on our way and trucking, and 0-1 so far, 3:46 left on the clock. And honestly, when we talk about ulti differentials here, Tetcher, we have an Iron Fist ulti that would be readily available, but I gotta ask your opinion, what would be the best thing popping in this next team fight?
Best thing popping into this team fight will absolutely be this Final Judgment to try and just clear out. If you can burn through that strange shield with no Fate of Both Worlds, with no invisible boundary, you can wipe the board. And that's why they're actually going to try and save this. Save it for wiping them once they have these defensive ultimates. We will see that Final Judgment dropped here just to try and dive back for the mobility, to try and take out Veil on the defense so they can at least get something out of this. But Gruffa is right now, they are causing distraction and delay. They will find a double, though. Distraction and delay is turning into one-man army. That's the triple. Graffa is running them down.
I was about to say, could get a quadruple if you're not careful enough, but I don't think he has any choice. Let's not fly too close to the sun here in this situation. A very pissed off Lutheran. Having to run after Exo here, but that's fine. We pull back. You still got yourself plenty of pick eliminations off the board. And Graffa, I was a little scared going into our last game because the Iron Fist wasn't as effective, but seeing here, it is a very different story.
Waiting for the door to open so they can push on in. Yancey Street Charge to try and focus onto that Thor, onto the Magneto Wire. Vagamondo comes on out. Cringelum taking out Kioshis right off the bat. That is a 3-person stun as Yale is going to try and supernova to burst on down. Fires Ichi on the backline. Ikaki burst on down here. The Fate of Both Worlds is buying a lot of extra time, clobbering time, to lock them down, and that's easily enough to take out Only Legs.
And plenty for Lutheran and Volley in full force, just back-to-back pick eliminations again, whether it be through the Supernova or Binary, coming in a clutch with the Clobbering Time. I will note, though, on the side of Fire Strays, Lutheran still has yet to really use one ulti, being the Kraken Impact. The same can be said for Raziel here, which honestly, that in conjunction with an Eye of Agamotto, if it gets to that point, if it gets fully charged, would be a nasty pick play for not OTPs. And again, I don't even think they'd need it coming into it off the voltage into the pullback from the Zip.
They're able to back away, not going to get themselves caught out of position. No one going down at this early stage. And Luther is in fact going to be chased down. The momentum and that awakening rune from Cringe Alarm is allowed him to push on in, forcing out the invisible boundary as they creep forward, trying to get onto these backline members as the Kraken impact was dropped quite early. Raziel is punished for that, thanks to the invisible boundary of Kyoshi's. Ikaki keeping the rest of the team topped up as they do try to commit a little bit further, getting knocked up with the Yancy Street charge. But Kyoshi's is getting sniped on the back line, living weapon to chase them down again.
Uh-oh, time to unleash the dragon here, especially coming in full force from Grafa right now. Kraken impact down in the floor, though. And now Lutheran causing a mess for everyone, making it everyone's problem. Had to charge again, but Grafa still keeping it up, especially off the magnetism. Finds another against Lutheran, and Kraken impact no longer a viable option here. Vale getting away by the skin of their teeth here with a melee pick against Grafa, finally.
The cart is held at almost exactly 5 meters. Will get pushed back. They will be forced to re-engage, and they don't have to wait for a portal, but they're seriously running out of time. So AMZ, they need to be playing aggressively here, because if they go down, they are the person who can drop Aya Wakamoto and then portal back in if their team holds the point. But they have to be the one to make this opening. Vale, with that extra damage from that Supernova forcing their way in. You did see that extra damage from Tainted Voltage trying to snipe them out the sky, but it will not land. The Aya Wakamoto did come out as AMZ is dropping low, but only legs with the Fate of Both Worlds. God of Thunder! To take him down, but they're tanking too much.
And charge down full force Meteor M, not exactly the slam dunk you're looking for here. With Deppy, we're not really finding any contact, but still at the Stone Haymaker. Binary had no choice but to pull back, get that extra health. Lutheran goes down. Cringe Alarm and AMZ now leading a Vanguard charge. And honestly, if you're not careful enough, Deppy's gonna go down just momentarily. Invisible barrier to now contend with. Vi still finds one off the shotgun charge. And now Keo just having to fight for their life. Pull back here, get the shielding with Grafa. Now nothing cheap about this Town Hall, I can tell you right now. Dragon Unleash finds one, finds a second. Double elimination against Debbie and Vale right now. Third pick elimination. Quadruple kills right now against everyone involved. And that is some nasty work coming into the side of not OTPs.
Literally daring them to step onto the point, but it looks like we will see Fire Strays back up and just wait to try and defend this on point number 3. Grafa, Khalid, House, they're finding these such important pickups onto that Human Torch a little bit early, and especially before Vale can charge up that Supernova that may have given Fire Strays the chance for the turnaround. This is not OTPs making a great case for themselves to try and make their way into Ignite. They were knocked down here by Load 9. Another set of people who like to stream a fair amount. Aya Wakamoto pushed back with the force physics, finds nothing, and now it's a torch battle in the sky that Vale wins instantly.
Oh, nasty work. I mean, we saw the Eye of Agamotto immediately countered by the Psionic Burst, and now the Supernova to have to contend back against here with not OTPs running for cover. I don't even think that's going to be enough. You still have the Fireballs to deal with, and Cringe Alarm can't take that much. Goes down in instant fashion, and now Violet just does not care, going in for the push with health abound. I mean, hell, getting the sustains should make this frightening for not OTPs to have to contend with, and now for Fire Strays already clearing space.
Fire Stray is looking to make sure that no one can step out, utilizing this Groot heavily. The zone around Graph is in the backline to try and see 9, but will be forced off the point at least a little bit here. Dragon Prison comes on out, finds everyone, Kraken impact! Luther takes out Raziel, snipes AMZ, and that's going to be the reset for the first setup here, but they're trying to wait out that Fate of Both Worlds to try and go into the backline. Beautiful snipe onto the Invis Woman to prevent the invisible boundary, meaning it's just Grapha and that Thorn. The Thorn is dropped low, the Thor is sent to spawn, and they are now just trying to deal with this Iron Fist who's trying to use mobility. Overtime is starting to tick down, but the fact is, Fire Strays have burned every resource here, and with the reinforcements coming in, overtime is ticking down, but they're trying to hold Kraken impact from Raziel!
Ooh, on Raziel, with there's one Kraken impact, there is another, and honestly, with Fire Stray steady watching you and everyone already clocking, I mean, it's a red alert, have to get armed and dangerous with Raziel keeping the Glock on him.
They held the line. They defended. They've delayed as long as they could. It's just a slither. So they're going to try and use Venom to force people off with that frenzied arrival for the extra damage, and of course to hold the line for as long as possible, because once they get the Symbiotic Resilience up, they will get a lot of extra protection. Supernova for the burst, and you're starting to see the members of non-OTPs get their health trickled down, and it is a hold at 2.108 meters.
I mean, 2 could be all you need, but let's be very real here, right? Against Fire Strays, not a team to scoff at. You either need to keep them down to a tie point or at 1. There is no other exception. I mean, very obviously, they hit 3. It is all over from there. But I will say, not OTPs giving it their all at the very end, getting staggered upon, even with Raziel coming in with the Kraken impact. Heard around the world here. Still going to be just enough. 0-2. Let's keep it that way.
Fire Strays burned so many resources in that pre-penultimate fight. I don't know what the word before penultimate is, but they burned so many resources, got immediately wiped, but then that just allowed them a little bit of time to reset as a team, and the only ultimate they needed to clean that up was Veil, with that Supernova, once again showing exactly how scary this Human Torch is. Now, what is the counter? What is the follow-up? How do they counter push in? Because non-OTPs, that was a strong push.
Man, it was a strong push, but now we have to get to the nitty-gritty here of how this is going to end up for them on defense, right? I mean, most would assume, you know, our lower-ranked lobbies, hey, just play the Penny Parker, you'll be fine with that, but let's be honest, that's banned here. Obviously not going to happen, especially off the Spider Mine, so you have to figure out something else, and honestly, I will say off of Vanguard, AMZ and Cringe have really been keeping up, especially in regards to, you know, shielding, going in with full stacks of Thor Force, and really keeping those resources up. But Tetcher, I gotta ask, what is the opinions on everybody else here, especially Grapha still sticking with the Iron Fist?
The fact is, it is working. Let's have a quick look at the statistics here.
Right.
You can see that Grapha is currently at 14 and 5. Their percentage damage has been effective. They're able to target down Veil in these fights the second they've dealt with these strategists. They are getting value out of this. They've been taken down the second least amount of times on their team. It is an unusual pick, but with the Thorn, with that Doctor Stranger, just setting up for Raziel, they are making it work.
And making it work, at least in the moment, but getting frozen just off rip. Tried to go for health, but Lutheran just there with the pistol cocked already. Running off force, but already in with the walls, just trying to go for the lash damage instead. And with the Sonic Burst, Deppy having to go down and out, back to spawn. Make the walk back a shame momentarily here.
And non-OTPs absolutely dominating, although EXO does take the 1v1 convincingly versus Raziel, thanks to that snowball. But they are getting zoned out here. They can't hold the point. But after that pickup, you immediately are going to see Deppy portaling in, trying to take advantage of the fact that Raziel isn't in this fight for a couple extra seconds. If they can find 1 or 2 eliminations here to get the stagger, then that could be huge. But Raziel is almost back, but there exactly is what we're talking about. 2 people down, as we see that fate of both worlds to buy extra time so that people can come on in. God of Thunder will find no eliminations. EXO is so close to their own ultimate. The team can stay up until that is ready. Kraken impact from Raziel takes out Veil, but fate of both worlds to try and counter it.
Man, have to crank up the playlist all over again, but the fate of both worlds out in full force, and now trying again with the Kraken impact. Lutheran gonna lose that, get partial refund, but not that much on the board. And now the barrier placed, at least in the corner, try to get yourself some time, pressure, and save yourself some pain at that one. Meteor M, not the slam dunk you'd expect, but Binary still making up for it off the shrapnel hits against AMZ.
That is going to be the push in. Fire Strays claim point number 1, creeping on forward. The perfect portal to follow up on the stagger that was set up by EXO. Ikaki very nearly turned that round as well with their invisible boundary to give the hold for non-OTPs, but they just weren't able to burst on through anyone except for Veil, allowing Lutheran to get 1 Kraken impact reset. That's all they got. Barnacock does land, but it wasn't in the right angle to pull Thor over the lip.
And trying to get off the tainted voltage, but not really finding that much target, or I should say damage, I should say, in the first place from Lutheran right now. But obviously, just trying to get in the health, pull back in full force on Grapha right now. A nasty flank sneak up coming into it with the Dragon Unleashed, as I was saying. Now just gonna rip it full force and up front. Even then, we have the barrier to contend with, finding that much in regards to health, but still off the sustain. Now everyone your way. Still trying to find a magnetism. Not that much of an impact like I did expect here, especially in trying to target Vale. Still able to make an escape, at least in the moment. And now the Kraken impact coming into it full force from Lutheran right now. Fate of both worlds gonna make it a problem, especially from only legs keeping not OTPs up.
It is going to be a 1-for-1 though as Cringealon takes out Veil, pushing it on in with that lightning domain for the setup to lock them in place so that they can chase on in. This is Fire Strays though, creeping forward bit by bit as they were to take down Graph on the backline. Ivok and Mona going to be completely blocked out with the shield, but it's enough to set up for Raziel, who gets reset number 1. Not able to find number 2 though, thanks to the fate of both worlds. Media M counter Ivok and Mona onto Ikaki, followed up by a Media M. That felt personal, and Binary is now capitalizing, pushing it on in. They have to deal with Grapha, who is now on that Wolverine, finally playing it after protecting it multiple games in a row.
I mean, hell, it ain't gotta be personal. It's a friendly fade. We should keep it that way, is what I would say had this not been Marvel Rivals. But like you said, with Binary coming into it off the Meteor M, that felt like, hey, come here. I'm just gonna hit you with this real quick. Nothing personal, but really it is. Have fun with that in the first place. And now, get the Meteor M. Now we have the portal coming into it full force right now from AMZ. Not OTPs, hoping to get back on point. Volley finds one, but honestly, the Kraken impact, not that much of an impact in the first place, goes down, but that will be last stand. Triple elimination coming into it from Grapha right now, having swapped from the Iron Fist into the Wolverine tank. Maximum shreddage right now.
Grapha absolutely blasting through there. That's what they've been struggling to deal with. While they've been able to take down Veil, they've been able to take down the backline, it's the front line that they're not always getting onto, and that's making it something that Cringe cannot get the capitalization that they really want in some of these games, because they're getting zoned out by Binary in particular. So finally able to get in there, set themselves up, and use that percentage damage to just give Deppy a horrible game.
Man, and it's going to be a brutal one at that one right now. Deppy's not careful enough, and honestly with the anti, can't even get that much healing in the first place. Have to expend the shielding. Mostly away from everyone, not a bad strat, but Cringealon would still have access to one ulti, and where there is another, there's the Eye of Agamotto, third ulti at that one. Having to worry about the Supernova, and then Raziel with the Kraken impact at that one. Choke point abound, and with Volley just getting plenty of health, not going down anytime soon. I misspoke a little too early here. Honestly, one burst is all you can need right now from Ikaki in the side of not OTPs.
Psionic Vortex and Tainted Voltage both landed onto Veil there, just keeping them out of the air consistently as Cringealon continues to poke away with that regeneration domain, even sending out the Beyond the Toss, because you can now, with the new way that this Thor works, you can afford to send out at least an odd throw every now and again to help build up that Thor force. That is the Wolverine isolation onto Deppy, Iron Bulwark for the protection, so they can try and push on through. Fate of both worlds coming in. God of Thunder for the pickup and takes out Kyoshin, which will shut down the invisible domain.
And no health for you in the moment, and now not OTPs, just absolutely blazing through Fire Strays, of course, no pun intended. And with only 22 seconds left, honestly, I think it might be time for Portal.
They have to, and look at the positioning. They made their way around the corner just in case we saw a snowball up to the high ground where their opponents are, which means body blocks are already prepared, but Deppy's going to make it through the doorway. Gets picked up by Wolverine, pulled out of position. Binary with the Meteor Ram into the backline, finds absolutely nothing. Ivok and coming out, and they are wiping at least Raziel off the board, but that invisible boundary bought them a little bit of extra time. Luthen is going to try and crack an impact to clean out the defenders here, and will be finding them. That's the second backline. Wolverine focused down, and they are out of there.
Oh, got two, got three, and honestly just prepared to get even more off the Kraken impact charge. That's going to be another peak elimination against only legs here, and still in the overtime with I mean, hell, there's no time left. Fire Strays have to cap this, or else it's wraps.
They've got to stay on this, but there's still going to be time for the rest of the members of non-OTPs to make their way back onto the point. Portal, they've already got people wrapping around from the side. Grapha making their way in. In comes that Supernova right off the back. Eye of Agamotto into the ceiling. Did not find Veil, but it's enough to take down Luthen, who's picked up by the last stand, which is this may well be AMZ holding the line for the moment to keep bodies on the board, but they've taken down Luthen, Deppy, and we're starting to see Fire Strays cleaned off the board. We are heading to a map number 3.
Map 3 is what I like to see here. No rhyme intended on that one, but not OTP's miraculous effort. Still able to keep Fire Strays down 2-1 here on Symbiotic Surface.
What a setup there. Able to dominate that round and take control. Only legs with the MVP. The fate of both worlds, the invisible boundaries were huge to even this up and keep their team going. And Grapha swapping to the Wolverine. I talk about it. I did like the Iron Fist. It was doing good work for them, but this was the right choice at the right time. Maybe it would have been better a little bit earlier, but this is the the swap that they need 20 final hits.
20 final hits, and then looking at the damage, I mean, not the most, but 26k, still wild numbers being put up by Grapha here. Hell, it's nasty work. That Wolverine swap couldn't have come at a better time. We saw it earlier. That was 1, 2, 3, almost 4 eliminations off the last stand from hell, if anything, Tetcher.
Cringealarm's been sticking with this Thor for the entire time as well. 12 final hits, 30k damage, which is more than both of their duelists, and almost as much as Vale and Luthor. Speaking of which, like we said, 18 final hits, 17 final hits. This was a very high KO game. This was crazy to watch. The 55k damage from Only Legs earning that MVP. This was a strong performance, and because of that, we are heading to a map number 3.
Hell, peak cinema, dare I say, and in Marvel Rivals, I mean, we see plenty of that, but in this case, no exception. Honestly, I was sitting here thinking, okay, Fire Strays, they just need one more point cap and then take it from there. And then here comes not OTPs off the last second Doctor Strange portal that I was almost certain wouldn't hit in time with, what, 2.99 meters left of space. It is not that much to scoff at, but hey, if it works, it works, and for not OTPs, forces them into a map 3, Tetcher.
We are heading to Midtown to decide who qualifies for Marvel Rivals Ignite. You are in the future. If you already know, this is how it happens. If you don't, then you have so much media to catch up on. There's an entire series of Marvel Rivals Ignite.
Right? It's a whole week you've been missing out on. Hold on a minute. Where have you guys been?
Oh, boy. We are setting up. Also, hi to future casters who use these for research, because I've been told that people have been using my videos because apparently this is just where it exists. So hello,
I have been too, bestie.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello, casters preparing for lands or preparing for new jobs or anything like that. Hope you are enjoying as we are getting set up here. The Wolverine is protected, not going to be banned out even after that performance.
I mean, honestly surprised by it in the first place. You'd think that Fire Strays would see that and be like, okay, that Wolverine from Grapha kind of messed us up in the first place. Let's not do that a second time, but no, full on protect. Iron Fist target ban, though.
That is fair.
Not surprised by that one. That's understandable.
But it means they're forcing them onto the Wolverine, because unless Grapha has something else that they have not really showed us yet, that is potentially quite telegraphed. Also, Spider-Man is being let through. They're trying to either bait or just accepting the fact that Raziel may get their peak hero.
And Captain America coming in on the protect, so I imagine, hey, if you want some dive shenanigans off these Stars and Stripes, wouldn't be surprised by it in the first place. But then on the side of not OTPs, have to see which protect goes in the first place. And hey, you have plenty of room for maneuver. Instead, the Doctor Strange, so I imagine RamZ here not wanting to see that slip.
They've been doing so well on it. It makes a lot of sense just to make sure that they keep control of the character that has been playing well. They're called not OTPs for a reason. They aren't OTPs, but again, they have these preferences, and AMZ is a huge Strange player, and we've been seeing that in these Eye of Agamottos. That's going to be another Adam Warlock ban to prevent that extra revive, and here it is. Raziel is about to be gifted the Spider-Man.
Honestly, it might be enough to turn Fire Strays into a collective of J. Jonah Jamesons at this point. I want that masked menace dead. His head on my desk. I don't care what I have to do to take him down. I need Spider-Man gone, which I wouldn't blame him for in the first place. But now we're going to have to see how Fire Strays contend with some slips through here. I mean, hell, that Raziel pick. Tetcher, we're in for a long one here, aren't we?
We may well be. We're seeing Fire Strays. They have busted out. The Ultron has also been target banned. We've seen Vale being targeted on the Human Torch a couple times after picking it up, not being banned out. This time it's let through again, but they've decided on defense they are going for sustain as opposed to that extra burst. It is kind of weird though, because Ultron, he doesn't have, he has burst protection, but so does the Human Torch. He has the point and click, of course. He can stay at a distance, but the Human Torch can create massive zoning fields. This is for their team, so that they can protect it. While they may be having a preference for the Torch, the Ultron is going to allow their team more sustain to survive and delay for as long as possible.
I mean, more sustained, and honestly, if you're not careful enough for not OTPs, it's going to be a damage farm nightmare, right, coming in off of the Ultron. So, hell, no dive, but still going to get plenty off the drones in the first place, and then the Extermination Ultimate. It's not fun, it is not cute, nor pretty to have to contend against, but going to see how that changes. I mean, not OTPs already with Raziel leading the charge on the Spider-Man, and a backline flank position. Honestly, these supports are not going to have a great time.
Cringealarm is taken out. Nice use of the Guardian Barrier to prevent the follow-up here from Raziel, preventing the first elimination here. They're forced to go into the backline. Nice use of the punch, and they might be swapping off, realizing that this is not working, and they will. It's the Thing and Storm. The Thing is wild here. It's going to affect Cap, stop them charging and rushing around. This is the main target here, whereas Vale is going to have to go into a Sky Duel versus Raziel on this Storm versus that Ultron.
I mean, hell, you say Sky, and right now, Raziel looking very much grounded in a dangerous position for themselves, but hell, if it works, it works. And now when you have a dive/brawl character like the Thing to have to contend with, honestly, with the Invisible Woman's strength at that one, the shield charge, finally, no exception right now, as both of them actually getting peak eliminations right now, the Extermination Ultimate going out, and that's going to be one last pick off the shield bash against Cringealarm here.
Another good pickup. We love the Thing against these dive characters. Could also be quite effective against Spider-Man sometimes even, as it prevents dashes with that Yancey Street charge, which is why they're trying to use it against Binary here to lock them down. Normally, you would see an Emma in this situation, but she was banned out in the early ban phase, so is it going to be available? So they just have to try and lock them down, punish them for diving, but this, of course, does leave Cringealarm extremely vulnerable to that Ultron, as Omega Hurricane is coming in for Raziel. Deep into the backline with the last stand, and that's a massacre.
A nasty, nasty work into the eye of the storm you go. And Raziel in charge on that one. Grafa having to provide some extra cleanup when it comes to a lot of these kills. And now with the fate of both worlds just pushing forward. Doesn't even need to go that far in the first place. A wave right to the face here.
Cap comes back in, going to try and delay Freedom Charge. Gets that extra bonus health every second now that it's active, and they will charge around the point, giving their team some extra time. And of course, if they keep running onto the point, they leave the trail behind, which buffs their team as well with the extra health and the movement speed. Ayavakomono going to be coming in for the turnaround, but this is Ultron keeping their team up with the help of the fate of both worlds.
And not only that, the fate of both worlds, the invisible barrier at that one to have to worry about. Now going in with the drone, doesn't even need it. Get beamed out of the sky, says Valle. Binary saying the same here, finding only legs with double shield bash back to back. And honestly, another off the burst against AMZ here. Honestly, Fire Strays staying up and looking clean at that.
Holding on this point number one with 1 minute to go, almost exactly. Portal is at the ready, but they'd rather wait to see if AMZ gets taken out early. If so, it's Portal reinforcement, but that puts a lot of pressure onto Grafa and onto Cringealarm to make their way back in. If AMZ gets taken out, to hold the point, delay it in order for this Portal to come back out with Invisible Boundary still at the ready for Fire Strays and no defensive ultimates yet at the ready.
Honestly, I'd be very careful in how I play against that boundary, considering that Grafa would still very much have access to the last stand. I say that, though. We have the Eye of Agamotto off the Dark Magic Cape AoE from Deppy right now to find a CC damage against Raziel. Nasty work at that one. And with a drone at their side, not much to worry about in the first place, as again, not OTPs falling fall by fall just in staggering fashion right now against Fire Strays.
Cringealarm now needs to rush in because we saw an incredibly clever move from Fire Strays here. They staggered the elimination onto AMZ to try and prevent the portal, and they interrupt with the Freedom Charge. They stagger it and then interrupt it. So now it's all about taking out the people who've made it here. Yancey Street Charge, clobbering time comes on now, but already with the pickup, Spider-Man has come back to touch the point in time. People will make it on legs thanks to Cringealarm, who has bought at least some time.
And some time could be all you need here, I say, going in for the charge off the last stand, and Grafa only able to find one full stack of Berserker Rage, though, but not that much health to play off of. To find yourself Earthbound, especially at the Yancey Street Charge. Cringe trying to make it sure in everyone's problem. You're going to go down here. As Grafa finds another one, especially off the claws. Binary just trying to rush it back, find something, anything. And now trying to go in for the clash, maybe, but no. Only legs and Cringealarm still finding one, two, finds a third. Grafa still getting in off the dive.
Pulling it back into overtime, though. They did lose a huge amount of time. This is going to be the pickup It doesn't matter how much time is on the clock, as long as it doesn't say 0 and there's no yellow bar, you are still in the game and you are still pushing. Huge shout out to Cringealarm for that delay, to give their team that opportunity. The final stand, and Raziel with the quick rollout, and already his ultimate charge for that spectacular spin. So far, Fate of Both Worlds is the only counter tool available.
I mean, the only counter tool at the moment. I mean, on the side, OTPs, the Eye of Agamotto may be leading into it, but could get very scary. Not careful enough. Raziel's just sitting there, menacingly just planning out, but of course goes in for the uppercut instead. He's on getting assist, and now we have the spectacular Spider-Man in conjunction off the Fate of Both Worlds. Not that many targets found in regards to eliminations, and now for not OTPs having to lead in off the clobbering time. Still no targets found on that one either.
Trying to rush onto these strategists into the backline as the media rev comes in from Deppy.
Uh-oh.
Finds Wolverine, but they get the extra protection, and in they come for the last stand, which is already off cooldown, but they're forced to retreat. 1 minute and 19 seconds left as Binary chases down only legs. Grappa is backing all the way out, and they're going to force non-OTPs back to spawn.
Spawn. I'm going to make the walk of shame all the way back. And honestly, to talk about the side of Fire Strays, the freedom charge to worry about from Binary, as well as the barrier to make sure get some pick plays at least on the point, keep the defenses up. Kraken Impact would be some nasty work, especially if not OTPs bold enough to push, which I don't even think they have a choice. Instead, the Extermination, now I'm going to contend with the Fate of Both Worlds, keeping everybody decided not OTPs alive, at least in the moment, but you still have Binary to worry about, leaving the front line charge now. The freedom instead. Now we have the Eye of Agamotto in the back line. Nobody was watching. And now for Fire Strays, really able to keep alive, especially for Luther. No exception here. Even more so off the barrier.
Vale is just getting juggled, constantly crowd control, but with dynamic flight and imperative firewall, they're staying up, but their team might not be so lucky with 2 members already down. Raziel is picked up on the retreat, and finally they will get targeted. Ikaki with the pickup, and Raziel off the Spider-Man back to the Storm for a fast rollout back to their team, and Omega Hurricane already at charge, so they can go in for this last final push at the bottom of the ramp as Binary is continuing to do Captain America things and be incredibly annoying.
About to say, if I had to guess, this Omega Hurricane has to be the push you really need, especially getting everyone off guard. And of course, as predicted, hey, I know my stuff, but now the Fate of Both Worlds in a Kraken Impact to trying as much damage as possible. Luther finding 2, one more off the Tainted Voltage, actually, and now Cringealarm wearing off the Yancey Street Charge instead. Stone Haymaker, but not going to be enough to save you from the Wrath of Violet and Luther. Now the full-out Extermination from Violet up top, at least trying to save more time, pressure, and effort, going to be just enough to push not OTPs off the convoy.
The Rage of Ultron holds the line. The Strange, the last one to go down outside of that Wolverine, meaning that there was no portal reinforcements, and you will see teams sometimes try to stagger the elimination onto the Strange so that they can't come back that way. It's a clever strategy. It is obviously leaving the risk of a quick expulsion of magic with the Maelstrom of Madness blowing up your entire roster. But when you have all 3 strategists alive, keeping everyone topped up and healthy, then it's less of an issue.
Of course, leading into this next stage here, I should say just the next round, we're tied 1-1 here. It's starting to get a little too close for comfort, and now you're only at 0-1. Hell, there's not that much room in the first place. All you need is one last push in a train station, and it's wraps from there, Tetcher.
2/3 of this map, and it is over.
Whew.
Whoever gets this game, no matter what is ending here, there is no way they can get. I'm pretty sure it's programmed that we can't somehow push to 130 meters and 32 centimeters, and then we just have to play overtime anyway. Pretty sure that cannot happen, so instead we will just have to sit here and see if Fire Strays can push the rest of the way, or if the side of non-OTPs, who are running the same roster again for defense, can lock this down and get themselves some early pickups and hold at point 1, maybe even just halfway through point 2. Any distance will matter as long as it is at the end of point 2.
I mean, hell, we can't just sit here in agonizing silence. We're commentators in the first place. I mean, that's kind of our jobs here. Instead, I don't know. I haven't worked here like ever. This is my first time doing this. Kidding, of course. And I imagine for Grappa, not the first time playing on the Wolverine. I mean, very obviously so. Now going out the charge instead, we'll stack a Berserker Rage into the Kidnap. Add that one. It's expended. But now, off the pullback, no choice but to do so.
Cringe Alarm is just going to be the ones pushing forward, standing on the point, using that massive health pool, that extra armor that they get, the extra bonus health from that Stone Haymaker. They also have the Fantastic Force for a little bit of extra healing if they want. We've been seeing a couple Cosmic Fastballs to launch that Wolverine into the point and also can pull Wolverine out of danger in some situations, trying to get the lockdown onto Binary, but the numbers are just creeping up in Firestray's favor as they are slowly, one at a time, tracking down and getting the KOs onto everyone on non-OTPs.
Just full bullying and harassment of our front line here in Binary. It just does not care, saying, you know what, come outside. I'm not going to jump you. Are you sure? Well,
Whoa,
no. It's just nasty stuff. I say that, though, Graphic just coming out in the skies full charge off the Wolverine instead. Fate of both worlds, at least to keep you alive in the moment. Let's see, smart counterplay against Vaya here.
But they use it for defense instead, knowing that they're not going to burst anyone down. They change the attention onto Binary, who was getting targeted. Media M has to be used for the escape. Looking for the Invisible Woman, but no, bust, stop, save. Yeah, able to get out of danger. So instead, they put the focus on the backline. Finally, they will get Ikaki. Veil with that point and click, the hit scan, focusing down, and Grapha finds the pickup, but is just completely isolated. Can't find the final hit on it, and Kraken impact from Luthor will allow point number 1 to go over to Firestrays.
Man, and not OTPs had a bit of a struggle just pushing in the first place here, especially in our last side, going into attack, but now on defense. I don't want to sit here and say getting shredded through, but it is a fast fashion that Firestrays have put themselves, especially leading into train station. We talk ulti differentials, right? Freedom Charge could be the choice for Binary here. Every time I mention one thing or another, it always tends to happen seconds later. Power prediction really helps, but now seeing the charge, Luthor at least finding one more. Binary off the shield charge instead, with Deppy having to push in off the shrapnel, playing for space against not OTPs.
You are literally the Joe Hendry of casting at this point. Say their name and they appear. Thank you, I heard it.
I do, in fact, believe in Ash Hendry.
Let's go, Binary, wrapping around into the backline. They love him in New York and Canada and Mexico, pushing in to the backline to look for the strategist. Final stand from Grapha. They're running a solo Vanguard composition as on OTPs for overwhelming damage potential, but they don't find the pickups as their team is being wiped. Grapha is all alone. They go to buy a ticket to MRC to try again for stage 2, because that is GG. We will see Firestrays take the map and the series they qualify for Ignite.
An excellent and nasty defense leading into a very stalwart attack, especially on Convoy. And of course, to nobody's surprise, Violet coming in off the MVP. 30 pick eliminations, 33 assists is wild work.
2-1 to Firestrays. They qualified for Ignite, so if you have not been watching them in Ignite, then you have several days of content to catch up on. I'm there, go watch it. But like you say, 30 KOs here, 6 of which were final hits. Shout out to Binary, though. We talked about how the numbers don't always show in terms of how viable a Captain America can be sometimes. And 12 final hits is a number that certainly shows it, and also only getting taken out once.
Just once. I was sitting here, I'm like, hey, have we seen Binary pop up in the kill feed anytime soon? And I look and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I almost only saw one death there. And I'm like, dang, can we not target, like, what's going on here? Is it too fast? Is he too fast? Or are they just too strong?
Yes.
Well, yes, in this situation, just being a frontline bully, and then at certain points really making it a nightmare for every support strategist on the side of not OTPs, is saying, wait, why do I hear the Star-Spangled Banner playing in the distance and Binary is quite literally at your neck?
Who would win? A super soldier, a literal android made to destroy the human, well, to protect, but accidentally to destroy the human race, a wizard, or an extremely angry man from Brooklyn?
From Brooklyn, yes. We're talking old school Brooklyn. We're not talking like post 2010s Brooklyn. We're talking I could do this all day type Brooklyn, spit out teeth in the concrete, be like, are you okay? No, I'm still fighting. Huh? Beg your pardon?
We need Brooklyn Land so that we can use No Sleep Till Brooklyn as the intro for like the hype up trailers. We need that immediately. Oh dear. Well, sorry, go on.
That was wild. That was an insane game. Honestly, close one at that one, and then you see the 2-1. I'm like, oh, okay. So they were taking no prisoners in this exception for Firestrays. Fun stuff though. Insane so far.
incredibly entertaining matchups, which means that now my coverage of the Ignite qualifiers is finally complete. I am free, which means I can now start the coverage
For
of
now.
MRC, which is where Ash and I met, doing a little bit of a recap of the Asia bracket, doing a little bit of the games in the past. That is how we met each other for the first time, so you expect to see them again as we have more games coming up. There is hundreds of MRC games being set up already, which is why I haven't covered it much on the news yet, because I'm not going to go through 200 plus results per region from the ignition stage.
I will. Put me on, I will. Listen, some people just have like the regular hyperfixations. I have Marvel Rivals autism. Do not get me started. If you want me to sit here and go through 200 plus games over different regions, just give me a day and I got you.
10-hour stream of reading every Ignite result.
Yes.
Exodia 1-0 versus Team B. Just all the way down forever. Oh my god. Well, Ash, thank you very much for joining me again. Where can people find you?
So you can pretty much find me everywhere. It's at Ashurvok. I have had that name since my freshman year of high school. I kid you not. That was 2015. It's been a very long time since I started commentary, almost 7 years ago, and I do not intend to stop. Marvel Rivals, please, if anyone's watching this, if you need a commentator, do let me know. I am available for NA, EMEA, and even Asia.
They did the Asia for the MRC, absolutely slayed. And I am, and also my seal of approval for whatever that is worth, which is currently very little. But thank you all very much for watching. I'm going to pause the recording so I can let Ash go before I do the member shoutouts. Once again, Ash, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, of course. Had a great time.
Love doing anything with Ash. Let's talk about how you can support the channel, though. You can support by liking the video, commenting, leaving a subscription, or ringing that bell. And ringing that bell so you can see when these casts go live. We have MRC coming up probably tomorrow at this point, which means I need to start recording some MRC games, so that will be fun. Let me know any teams you want me to cover. This is the generation of tomorrow, so make sure that you leave any requests. We then also have our members. You can hit join to get your name shouted out and get videos a day early, or even earlier if I have to go out of town for whatever reason. Big shout out to the members: Dump Alt, Lucas Tyson, Arso, Doki Pokey, and John. Thank you all for your support. I'm going to go rest my voice now that I'm at least 2 days ahead casting wise, and I will see you all tomorrow.